So the New York Times had a story about how actually, Warren wasn't really likely to endorse Bernie anyway. And I want to go ahead and read for you some of what's in that. Just a little excerpt here. I got a tweet about it, and I think that this is so telling because it shows you who Warren really is. So Alex Koch tweeted, Randy Weingarten says here in a New York Times article that emojis contributed to Warren's likely decision not to endorse Sanders. Quote, there were a lot of really nasty emojis and tweets and other vituperative and misogynistic comments directed towards Elizabeth. So I want you to think about that. Elizabeth Warren, who did not endorse Bernie in 2016, really could have helped change this race. If she dropped out before Super Tuesday, now by the way, she was guaranteed to get obliterated in every state. The only state she had a chance was her home state of Massachusetts. So really, she could have dropped out before Massachusetts and endorsed Bernie, therefore changing the trajectory of the race massively, and Bernie would have won at least 4 more states that day. At least 4 more states. But you say, okay, she wanted to stay in for Super Tuesday to see her results. Okay, fine. But after Super Tuesday, drops out, stays out, doesn't endorse Bernie. Now, listen, as many people have pointed out, she doesn't owe Bernie anything. Totally true. She doesn't owe Bernie anything. But also, she doesn't really believe in her policy platform. That's an inescapable conclusion. Why do I say that? Because it is an objective fact that Bernie's policies are way closer to what Warren says she believes in than Joe Biden's. So for her to stay out, okay, fine. Warren, you don't owe Bernie, you don't owe us anything. Granted, you don't owe us anything. But it is simply a fact, a stone-cold, ironclad fact. You do not believe in your platform like you said you did. Because if you did, then it'd be a no-brainer. Yeah, of course I'm going to endorse Bernie. What do you mean? He's closest to me on the issues. Duh. But you didn't do it. You didn't do it in 2016, which very well may have cost Bernie Massachusetts. You didn't do it this time, which very well may have cost Bernie the race. And all I have to say is, I feel for every single Warren supporter who actually believed in her and supported her because of those plans that she had. I got a plan for it. Big structural change. For mostly the younger people who backed her based on that, I genuinely feel for them. Because while Elizabeth Warren doesn't owe Bernie anything and doesn't owe me as a Bernie supporter anything, she doesn't. She genuinely doesn't. I think she owed it to her supporters who actually believed in her policy platform to endorse Bernie. That's what I think. And the fact that to her, according to her and her team, well, the emojis were so mean, so what was she supposed to do? Oh, okay. Okay. So meanness on social media overrides the importance of the 45,000 people who die every year because they don't have basic health care. Biden's plan leaves 10 million people uncovered. We know that. 500,000 medical bankruptcies every year. Elizabeth Warren says, sorry, there were some snake emojis tweeted at me. 78% of people living paycheck to paycheck. Sorry. I know Bernie's for stronger unions. Bernie's for a living wage. Bernie is guaranteed to fight for these things. What am I going to do? At BernieBro6969 on Twitter was really rude. Even to the extent that she actually believes in her wealth tax. Bernie's proposed a wealth tax that's even more aggressive. Biden's not going to do a wealth tax. Sorry. Twitter people were mean to me. So listen, I say that to say this. She's not real. She's not the real deal. That her actions show me that. Her actions are what matters. That's all that matters in this world when it comes to politics. Policy, record, actions. That says everything. Imagine caring. I wouldn't care if every single Bernie supporter in the world called me a giant piece of shit and spit in my face. He objectively has the best policies, so I'm going to support him. Because that's what a serious person does. It just is. Now, I'll end on this note here. This one is upsetting. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez weighed in on this, and here's what she said to the New York Times. Quote, I always want to see us come together as a progressive wing, Ms. Ocasio-Cortez said, I think that it's important and where we draw strength from. But at the same time, I come from the lens of an organizer, and if someone doesn't do what you want, you don't blame them. You ask why. And you don't demand that answer of that person. You reflect, and that reflection is where you can grow. One of the biggest problems with the left is many well-meaning people are incapable of just calling bullshit on something. And listen, we saw this from AOC as well when Ilhan Omar was being thrown under the bus. There was a coordinated smear campaign against Ilhan Omar where everybody was screaming from the rooftops and all of corporate media and corporate Democrats were saying, anti-Semite. Why? Because she dared to say that AIPAC money controls politicians and makes them want to do the bidding of Israel. That is, not only is that not anti-Semitic, that's not even controversial if you're being honest. In the same way that the Saudi lobby controls politicians and gets them to do things that are pro-Saudi Arabia, like weapons deals and aiding a genocide in Yemen, Israeli money does the same thing. AIPAC money does the exact same thing. Absolutely. In the same way, big pharma money, Wall Street money, military-industrial complex money. Why is it not controversial to say, oh, all those impact our politicians? And why we have a giant bloated military budget and why we do Wall Street bailouts. But the one group you can't say it about, oh my God, you said it about AIPAC. Oh my God, you said Israeli money also controls politicians. Anti-Semite. That is so immensely dishonest that you have to be able to see through it. But what happened? All it took was a couple people on Twitter, you know, with their fake sincerity saying, oh, as a Jewish person, what she said is really hurtful. And I'm sorry, but this I deserve an apology. Ilhan Omar shouldn't have said it. And AOC ran right out there and said, oh, yes, we need to make sure that we understand people's lived experience and that, you know, we don't say things that hurt their feelings. Or sometimes some things are just bullshit. And if we're not going to fight for our side and we're not going to fight for that which is true, what the hell's the point? So listen, the one area where I will agree, Elizabeth Warren is right. She doesn't know Bernie anything. She doesn't know the movement anything. But this does mean that she does not believe in the platform that she said she believed in. Because if it was all about that platform, there's no decision here. You endorse him, guaranteed. So you can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. You can't say, no, I seriously mean I care so deeply. Oh my, I'm all about the plans, I'm all about the policies, and I didn't endorse Bernie. No, that makes no sense. That makes no sense. So I need you to understand that. You can't have it both ways. So really, when all's said and done, the fact that I care so deeply about these policies and the guy who's going to continue fighting for them, I'm not going to endorse him. Okay, then you're a fraud. I don't know what you want me to tell you. It is what it is. I don't know what you want me to tell you. So sometimes you got to call bullshit. And the final point, I know I said that a million times, is imagine being Bernie Sanders. Bernie went out of his way to never say a negative word about Elizabeth Warren throughout this entire campaign. He went out of his way to do it. Out of his way. He even went as far as, yes, oh my God, anybody who supports me on social media who's being rude, who's being mean, I don't want you as part of our campaign. I condemn it. She still said no. So you know what that means? She was never going to endorse him. The whole thing about the emojis is just a cover story. She was never going to endorse him. That's the thing that she's, hanging her hat on. And if Bernie had said any negative word about her, she would have said, I can't believe Bernie said that. That's why I'm not endorsing him. She was never going to do it. When the pressure's on and it's a moment where the real deal people need to step up, Elizabeth Warren is routinely nowhere to be found. And it behooves you, if you're on the left, to acknowledge that. So for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, for anybody who is a supporter of Elizabeth Warren, let's get real here. The left will never win with this kind of mindset. Ever. Ever. We got to get serious about power. We got to get serious about winning. And part of that is calling BS where indeed there is BS.